Gracious, good morning. Pardon the informal Arizona attire. It's Saturday and I've been out and about today. This is our very fast, hopefully very fast. Let me share the screen. Final video on how to ace the final paper and your final results after decision 5, which we're not going to go too much into. All right, let's see if we can find this summary. Okay, here's our summary. After our final decision, a final paper, and some feedback, move this, on our final photo finish. Our final secret is, very quickly, all those finishing results you saw, first, second, third, fourth, are on log scales. If you put them in real scales as compared to the two main of the 6 metrics, the ARE and the ROCE, your accumulated retained earnings and your return on capital employed, you would see that this class has been absolutely astonishing. And the punchline is there's not places 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a clear winner and a place 1, and then everybody else is really close in second place. That's when we take away the log scale and look at the two major contributors, which are ROS and ARE, which we'll do. You can do this now on your own final results too, but I'm going to very quickly just run through two parameters. If anyone's interested in any more information after the final papers and presentations are in, we can have a dialogue. But this is just to help you with the final paper and give you confidence that where you ended up was almost number 1. And you'll see that in these numbers when I've decoded all of the log scales, so you can see how close everyone really was. There really is only a first and second place, and you guys have done fantastically. You've done awesome. This is a record class in terms of how fast your decisions got adjusted to what the competition was doing. So the final secret, log scales never show the full results. So congratulations, teams, on a photo finish. These are your final feedback hints. There's yellow team. Look at that. Wow, just a little bit ahead of red, blue, green. Everybody's almost right beside them in second there. So let's look at the photo finish on ROS and ARE. There are two secret keys are ace and ROS, and there are two finishers, first and second. Look at this. There's first, here's second. This has gone up and down, round and round. There's been crosses, of course. Green for a long time was in second. In fact, green was competing right here for first. There was no first and second here. They were tied. Yellow and green are tied. And green didn't get destroyed and drop down to way down here somewhere. These distances are relatively close in terms of when we see endings on other teams. There are some teams that are way down here and way up here, and then a spread. This is really number 2, and look at how many crosses there are. You have all competed so fantastically. Similarly, now remember this is a turnaround. We have some positive above 0 in terms of ROS a little bit, but this is a turnaround. Nobody really does what yellow did, hardly ever, in terms of getting into positive, or at least towards positive retained earnings. And we've talked to the sim people about this. Come on, let's make it a little bit easier. And they've said, no, all the teams really like the fact that it's hard because, it is a turnaround. It's just like Walmart blowing it with Sam's Club when they said, oh, we'll just buy it out and turn it around. No, turning it around is not as easy as you think it is. So again, we're not talking about what happened to purple versus green versus, oh, wow, you're so close. There's a lot of crossovers here. You see all this up and down, etc. But when you really look at the end and you start to collapse log scales with all these differences going towards inventory and then away from CapEx, you can see that really there's number 1 and number 2. But shout out to yellow. They've had a fantastic run here, made some incredible decisions, and we're not taking anything away from them. You can see they are clearly number 1 here. And I want everyone to remember that, not thinking of who's at the bottom. No one's at the bottom. You're all number 2. But think about, what did yellow do that's a little different than the number 2 positions? A little difference. We'll see in a second. It wasn't all right, but it was still a lot of really good decisions versus the market, competition, engineering, and especially the customers with the value proposition. You'll see that. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail because this is more about let's get the paper done and do a great job on the paper. So again, our final LOIs are, you know, how much we've talked about lost order over inventory and what it means, etc. This is a 4 basic family model business units: eco-friendly, family, image, and low cost. And you see everyone had some stumbling and some good things they did in terms of trying to stay in the middle line. Remember, lost order over inventory, what it is. It means that, I can get all these graphics out of the way. If you're close to zero, then you're doing great because you don't have a lot of inventory and you don't have a lot of lost orders. But you can see under eco here that our number one fantastic yellow team crashed and burned a little bit in terms of lost orders in eco-friendly. And that's just means making, you know, making not enough cars for the amount of demand you stimulated in a certain area of eco-friendly and not matching supply to demand. And that happens to everyone. You have to. But again, look at how close these are. And you'll see that yellow, when you look at some of the other models, are almost a straight line across here. They did a great job of balancing. I had to show you one where yellow did a little bit of slip, not here building a lot of inventory, but here building a lot of demand and not having much capacity in terms of losing all these orders. And that happens. You know, you can look at that in the specific numbers as well. So it's not a giant miss or anything. Family, again, there was a little dip here by yellow in inventory, where they built a bit of inventory, but then flattened it out with sales. And look at how close these are. All of a sudden, there's a big inventory build under family, so you can see what one of Purple's strategies was here. And then also red did great, jumping from 1 to 3 back to 2. And you can see how close a lot of you are to that center zero line here. This is learning across the sim to balance your supply and demand, which every one of the teams did fantastically here. We'll see a few slips because every line isn't attacked by every company. Every one of your businesses have different ideas on that. Image, obviously, we have a huge amount of inventory building up with 2 here in terms of needing sales. But look at this zero group here. To say, you know, there's a person, wow, you're really, you're very much lower than me. There's a lot of how close this is to the zero line in image. You all really figured out what's going on, and these trends were trending down here. So red made a big play on image, especially and the ending there, and took some of our advice and jumped up a spot and did great. But remember, when you're looking at balancing these two and you're making your last decision, you're trying to get your balance sheet a little skinnier, and that's just the nature of this game. Finally, low cost. Whoops, let me get back here and center this. This is just, I love the low cost because you can see, even though red did the same thing and a final decision, a final play, just like we did in the final video, and did great and jumped a spot by doing it, but it's going to throw off your supply and demand because you're going to build a lot of inventory by building, you know, those supercars and selling them less. And it actually worked for red, and they jumped up and did fantastic. Congratulations, folks. But again, don't say, oh no, you were on that terrible yellow team or that terrible purple team or what. That's not true. Look at how close to the center this is. This is one of the best sims we've run out of 40, 50, 60. I was showing this to the other 30 instructors, 90,000 students, 30 instructions, 30 of us teach this class, and Paul's our lead. And everybody's absolutely amazed at how close you guys came to balancing the zero off. These swings happen all the time, but it's very rare that the central tendencies, pull out the standard deviations from here and you'll see fantastic. You guys did a great job. So let's go back to finally how to ace. I want to end this quickly. I want this to be a fast video just to give you some encouragement and feedback. But most importantly, how are we going to all just ace that presentation and do a fantastic job on the final presentation and paper? 4 things: the reasons for your decisions, business writing, a real close look at competition, as well as market and engineering, but mostly competition. And finally, fun and some lessons you pulled out of this. So remember some of these main points in terms of business writing and giving presentations, that graphics matter. And you can see, the whole take responsibility for decisions, show graphics, show the metrics and your annexes, admit your slips, and show your course adjustment strategies. Now, you've done a great job on the previous papers of doing that. You've already said, hey, here's our annex, here's where we went wrong, here's where you corrected in our vision and mission. And that's fantastic. And remember, no one has anything to apologize for here. You all did fantastic on the sim. And there's really only a number 1 and number 2, as you saw in the graphics. So have confidence, but show metrics. The language of business is accounting and finance, and show that you went back and looked at some of the numbers. And if you have some graphics, like I've been showing you here, bring your graphics up and use them in the presentation and give your logic for them. Take responsibility for your actions, but you're not going in with any tails between any legs. This is like your proud moment and said, hey, we did great. We learned a lot. And here's where we made some slips, here how we made corrections, and here's what our strategy was, right or wrong. No one, if anyone can come in, an analyst, and say, look what you did wrong after the fact. No one can look forward to the future and say, now I know what's going to happen, because no one does. We don't know what the competitors are going to do. And we don't know if we're going to have something called a stupid competitor, somebody that takes a car and prices it for $5, and destroys the market, and nobody ever gets above water. And so it's a matter of the co-opetition. We're competing, but we're also working together to try to hold the industry up and see what everyone else has done. That's why we have to show a desire to understand the competition and how to subtly coordinate. You can take a screenshot of this if you want to. It's just some of our rubrics put into plain language, what we look at for the presentations and papers. So remember, everyone has a certain amount of guessing in this sim. Finally, fun. I've had 4 or 5 of our validators and CEOs text me saying, this is really fun. It's like, I love hearing that, because I'm in a doctoral program here. I'm also doing case studies all day long. I'm a student too. And I know what it's like to dig and dig and dig into these cases. And it really is cool, both on teaching and learning, jump into a real life case like this and actually try to compete with other teams. And, we're not all extroverts in sales, so we don't always everyone doesn't love team activities. Some of us like to program and sit quietly and not be with the team. But you've all done fantastic on the teamwork, validated on time, picked it up, understood it. And believe me, out of 30 some of us professors that teaching this class, there's not a lot that want to do it. It takes a lot of testing on our end to qualify to teach it. There's still a lot of difficulty communicating because of so much work you have to do. There's a huge amount of work in this course. It's your capstone final course. And on top of all the normal things you have to do, and cases and understanding strategy and HIT Ireland, you still are competing for those spots. Now, my final thing is on your peer review. Let's keep the peer review simple this time. You do not review yourself. If you have a team of 4 people, you turn in 3. Each one of you do the other 3. Don't review yourself. You can, at the end of that form, you can put, yeah, I rank myself here, but don't rate yourself. Don't put yourself in the 4, because that throws the numbers off. If you're in 5, you're going to rate 4. If you're in 4, you're going to rate 3. And one team, I won't say who, got together and gamed it and said, okay, you do 15, 5, and 10 for them, then you do 5, 10, 15, and then you do 15, 10, and 5 for the 3 of us, and we'll all get the full 80 points or 90 points, whatever it is. And that's fine. If you want to do that, do that, decide. We set the peer review up so you can do that. But also, if you feel, hey, out of the 4 of us, one person just didn't even show up, then, do what you feel you have to do. But I have to tell you, from the 30,000-foot view, you all have done fantastically in this course and done great on the sim, and everybody's talking about it in our circles. So that's just a little hint on the paper, but also kind of asking you to help me a little bit on the peer reviews this time. So promise I'd keep this short. Text me, message me, have any questions as you're getting into these final things, and I probably won't be seeing you on videos anymore, because after those final papers in the final week, you'll be getting your grades and we'll be moving on. So remember, we've been talking about resumes, CVs, Harvard on it, all that stuff, and I've done a lot of posts on that. Text me, message me if you need any support on that. how to put the language in on your CV. Many of you are already working. Our cohorts are between 20, 30 years old. We're not a lot of folks just full time in school. So if you're working, you have a job, you're getting a promotion, or you're looking at a change of careers, or even helping that way on your resume, CV, feel free to text me. I don't care if it's 6 months or a year from now. The same email, just connect up. You can see me on my videos, making videos for the next class or whatever, and contact me. I'm there to support you and help you, and I'm really proud of every one of you. Anyway, let me see if I can get down here and get out of here and bid you a Arizona farewell.